Meghan Markle is quaking in her boots at the terrifying prospect of a tell-all book by the former best friend she dramatically cut adrift. The difficult Duchess suddenly severed all ties with Canadian Jessica Molrron after the celebrity stylist was accused of white privilege in a race row over her failure to support the Black Lives Matter movement. But now, 5 years on, Jessica is reported to have been offered a $1 million deal to write the story of her life and times with Prince Harry's social climbing American wife. And make no mistake, Jessica knows where all the bodies are buried. So close was she once to the wannabe royal that her twin 7-year-old sons carried Meghan's wedding dress train down the aisle as she married Harry at St George's Chapel in Windsor. And her then 2-year-old daughter, Ivy, was a bridesmaid. As a result, Jessica was in the thick of it amid Meghan's notorious row with Princess of Wales Kate as they locked horns over the allegedly poorly fitting bridesmaids' outfits. Prince William was said to be furious that Meghan made his wife cry. But Meghan insists it was the other way round, that it was Kate who made her cry. Two wildly different stories. Jessica Molrron is fully aware which one is true. As the keeper of a massive mountain of many, many Markle secrets, the 45-year-old was Meghan's confidant throughout her romance with the prince and during the British phase of her marriage, when she was dismayed by suffocatingly pompous palace procedure and despaired of her regal in-laws. When challenged about her book contract, Jessica insisted she has no intention of spilling the Meghan beans. We'll see. But if that's genuinely the case, Jess, don't bother writing it. You are interesting to the reading public for one reason. The Markle reason. Back in the day, the impeccably well-connected Ms Molrron introduced Meghan to high society in Toronto, where she was filming her legal drama Suits. Soon, the dazzling duo became inseparable, definite bosom buddies until the day they died. But then, dear oh dear, it all went catastrophically wrong as Jessica clashed with social media influencer Sasha Exeter and swiftly suffered an extraordinary fall from grace. After Sasha said that Jessica, and I quote, took offence to her promotion of the Black Lives Matter cause, she was shocked when her wealthy white nemesis threatened to ruin her career. Posting a 12-minute video chronicling the bitter dispute, Ms Exeter accused Molrron of white privilege, which she found surprising considering her friendship with, as Sasha put it, one of the most famous black women in the world, as in Meghan. Despite Jessica's grovelling apology to her 400,000 social media followers and to Sasha, the Canadian network CTV immediately axed her reality show I Do Redo, and she was cancelled into oblivion, not only by broadcasters, but also by Meghan, who instantly dropped her like a stone. Yet another example of just how ruthless the Duchess of Sussex can be when she decides someone is no longer required in her cosseted world. Previous devastated rejects, of course, include her heartbroken father, Thomas Markle, who she stopped speaking to in 2018, just before getting hitched to Harry, her half-brother Thomas Markle Jr., and her half-sister Samantha, loved ones she grew up with, handed cruel one-way tickets to familial Siberia with no chance of ever returning. Her estranged relatives remain quietly resigned to their fate. But will Jessica be quite so quiet? If she opts to sing from the rooftops, the explosive Molrron memoir could blow Meghan's carefully choreographed tales of love, woe and victimhood apart. The Duchess, we're told, is afraid, very afraid. So what happens next? Bombshell book or no bombshell book? That is the question. Watch this space. In other Sussex news, after shattered Harry was told by King Charles in no uncertain terms that his plans for half-in, half-out semi-royal duties are never going to happen, the bizarre revelation by Meghan that her little son Archie apparently doesn't know when his birthday is. In a documentary about the Disneyland theme park, the Duchess recalled taking her kids for a fun day out back in June, during which, according to Mother Meg, Archie said, "When's my birthday?" A 6-year-old who doesn't know when his birthday is. Really? Either Archie's even dumber than his dad, or Meghan's talking her truth again, as opposed to the truth. What a week on Planet Sussex. Harry back in Britain for tea with the King, while busy showing us all what an amazing guy he is, visiting charities, selflessly donating £1 million to the BBC's Children in Need, and making jokes about the trouble with brothers. Oh, how William must have laughed. Meanwhile, over in California, Meghan's baffling brand, As Ever, continued to hawk scam jam, cookie dough, wine, and exciting new jars of marmalade, as we all asked, who the hell is buying this mundane range of astronomically priced humdrum domestic products? The $9 marmalade, by the way, has earned the distinction of becoming the first ever As Ever offering not to sell out within minutes. In fact, despite gushing Instagram posts describing it as golden and fragrant, with a lively zest that lingers and a refined sweetness, Meg's marvellous marmalade hasn't sold out at all. At $9 a pop, I'm not surprised. Meanwhile, on his 4-day trip to little old England, Prince Harry's pariah status was underlined when he checked into London's Royal Lancaster Hotel. Nice regal name, but it ain't no palace. And as the desperate Duke staged his charm offensive in an all-out bid to reclaim the popularity he has so spectacularly lost, Prince William made it clear that he has no intention of ending the brothers-at-war feud triggered by Harry's appalling antics since running away to America. At one point during the Duke's Love Me Do tour, the once inseparable siblings were within 7 miles of each other. So close, and yet so far. There were, however, signs of a royal rapprochement when keen environmentalist Charles boarded an eco-unfriendly private jet back to London and hooked up with his petulant youngest son at his Clarence House residence. Tea time with Dad didn't last long. After 19 months apart, their familial chat was over in just 54 minutes, less than an hour. Then Harry sloped off to another charity do, where he announced that his old man was doing great. Great. But as the problem prince left the UK behind him again, questions were being asked. Why is he so anxious to recapture the affection of the British people? Does he begin to comprehend the damage he and his American wife have done in 5 frightful years of disrespecting the royal family? Why can't he see that branding Charles and Kate racists was the sort of outrageous slur that destroys the close bonds that loving relatives enjoy? Does he really believe that the awful things he and Meghan said in that incendiary interview with Oprah Winfrey can be forgotten and forgiven? Didn't he realise that his spiteful little book Spare, in which he branded Charles an uncaring, mean-spirited father and called his stepmother Camilla the villain of the story, was likely to cause a terminal breakdown? It's not only the dim Duke's family who struggle to put his shameful past behind them. The British people are furious with him, furious that he abandoned his duty as a frontline royal, furious that he skulked off to California to make a living out of trashing the UK, furious that he allowed Meghan to turn against us. In that horrible Netflix series imaginatively named Harry and Meghan, the dismal duo essentially dismissed millions of Brits as a nation of slave drivers. It's all too much. Certainly too much to be instantly evaporated by a few happy, snappy charity appearances and a performative returning hero pretense that bordered on excruciating. The Duke of Sussex may have convinced himself the wounds he and Meghan inflicted are healing, but in the likely event that he doesn't comprehend just how far he crossed the line, here's a message for old Ginger Nuts. Harry, mate, you've got a mountain to climb. Good luck with that. Extraordinary moment as royal pariah Harry was devastatingly written out of existence by Donald Trump. The runaway prince unpersoned and humiliated by his nemesis, the American president, as more than 160 dignitaries, including the royal family and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, sat transfixed by his heartfelt post-banquet speech at Windsor Castle. Trump turned to King Charles and, amid a gracious torrent of courteous compliments, declared, "I just want to say that His Majesty has also raised a remarkable son in His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. Really amazing that we've gotten to know you, and I think you're going to have unbelievable success in the future. Melania and I are delighted to visit again with Prince William and Her Royal Highness Princess Catherine. So radiant, so healthy, and so beautiful. It's a great honor. Thank you." Oh my God. Can you imagine how Harry must have felt about this clearly calculated strategic insult? As Donald delivered his carefully aimed, princely put-down, there was an elephant in the elegant dining room. A ginger elephant. More to the point, that gushing presidential praise for Catherine will have painfully pierced Meghan like a dagger through her very soul. The difficult Duchess despises the Princess of Wales. Who can forget the tear-stained rows in the approach to Harry's wedding as William's shocked wife realised that the headstrong Ms Markle spelled trouble. Tantrums over tiaras and a row about the bridesmaids' dresses that made Catherine cry. Predictably, in her mudslinging interview with Oprah Winfrey, Meghan insisted it was the other way round. That, of course, was her truth. But as for the truth, what we do know is that the princess went out of her way to make Harry's American fiancé feel welcome, only to have her kindness thrown back in her face. Now, to this day, 7 years on, Meghan's deep dislike of her regal in-laws centres on Catherine. The word jealous springs to mind. Meanwhile, on Planet Harry, all of his crimes against decency, in the horror with Oprah, that nasty Netflix series, his spiteful book Spare, his deranged conspiracy theory allegation to the BBC that his mean-spirited father wanted him dead, and so much more, have been forgotten and forgiven. Why? Because he spent 4 days in the UK beaming for the cameras and oh so selflessly visiting charities. Astonishingly, hopeless Harry insisted to a newspaper journalist that his conscience is clear over Spare, a sordid potboiler full of torrid tales of fights with his brother, losing his virginity in a field and trying to thaw his frostbitten manhood while thinking about his mother Diana, was not airing his dirty laundry in public. What the hell was it then? Let's face it, Dukey boy, you sold trash for cash. It wasn't, as you preposterously suggested, about accountability. It was about making money. But enough of Planet Harry. Back on planet Earth, if this narrow bandwidth oddball thinks he's wiped the slate clean, he's got another thing coming. The delusional Duke of Sussex's desperate bid to win back the hearts and minds of the British people will take more than a bizarre pretend royal tour. It got worse when, following his brief 54-minute tea for two reunion with the King, the dim Duke headed unannounced to Ukraine for more performative charity do-gooding, in direct contradiction to the British government's wishes. They didn't want him in the war-torn country because his presence would clash with an official visit by Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper. Naturally, never one to readily comprehend grown-up issues, Harry went anyway. For his royal Lolas, it was an unmissable love-me-do photo opportunity. But as he finally flew back to California, buoyed by a strange Instagram greeting from Meghan on his 41st birthday, a picture of him with hair when he was in the military nearly 2 decades ago, a different version of that London meeting with the King was beginning to emerge. It was not reportedly the joyful rapprochement we were led to believe. Rather, Harry had to enter Clarence's house by the public doorway, where he was security screened. And throughout his familial session with Charles, Queen Camilla, who neither likes nor trusts her husband's youngest son, insisted on being there. Her tacit warning to Harry was stark. You breathe a word of this to the media and I will know where it came from. Later in Ukraine, the Duke did indeed talk to the media, but uncharacteristically betrayed no confidences in an interview with the little red Guardian newspaper. What he did say was, "My focus has to be on my dad this year." This from a guy who hasn't seen his father for 19 months and until their perfunctory powwow wasn't even on speaking terms. So, call me cynical, but by focusing on his dad, does cash-strapped Harry mean focusing on persuading Charles to reopen the bank of dad? You decide.